can the Big 12 compete? Very interesting timing that Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, and it's actually pronounced Sankey. You guys don't even know his name. We do know his name. We do. Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, Tony Petitti, the commissioner of the Big-10. They've been out and about doing interviews, talking about their new alliance, and it's brought a lot of conversations about what is the goal of this alliance and what ultimately happens between the Big-10 and the SEC. And will we at some point, in the worst case scenario in some people's mind, see the SEC and the Big-10 form their own conference? Again, just talking to people around the college football world, I want to make it very clear that nobody has indicated that the SEC and the Big-10 want to diminish the role of or destroy, vacate, eviscerate the NCAA. In fact, I think it's just the opposite. What the SEC and the Big-10 are trying to do is provide a clear path forward for their prosperity. That includes the NCAA. And I think it makes a lot of sense. Now, does that mean that the Big 12 and the ACC are getting left behind? I do not believe that it does, but I think that's a possibility because I think we all know that the ACC, I think, is in a world of hurt. They are in their own realm of stupidity and fear. If you look at the Big 12, I think the Big 12 has one singular hammer, and it is college basketball. It is unquestionably, it is not arguable. The Big 12 is the best college basketball conference in the country and has been now for several years. I believe that that is the hammer that the Big 12 needs to survive. It's not something the ACC can say, and it's not something the Big 10 certainly can lay claim to. And as we currently sit here and as they are constituted, neither can the SEC claim that they are the best basketball conference in the country. But there is no doubt that the NCAA tournament is going to drive more revenue through college athletics. I think it also is a lifeline for the Big 12. But, Jake, the question is, should the Big 12 be worried about just surviving in a Big 10 SEC world?
I think that, worried might be strong, but I do think they need to be cognizant and they do need to be on top of this thing. You need to understand what the Big 10 and the SEC are trying to do here and where your place in the pecking order is. Because I think we all agree that, it's the SEC and the Big 10, right? If you're a Big 10 person, you're going to say the Big 10 is better than the SEC. For me, I put those two at a higher level, right? And then it was always, for me, the Big 12, the ACC, and the Pac-12 before the Pac-12 melted down. And when I look at the Big 12, basketball, yes, they are the most complete top to bottom basketball conference in the country. And I just don't really feel like that's in dispute. But the question for me in terms of the Big 12 survival is going to be, who's going to be the next Texas of your conference, if you will? Who's going to be that next big team that can take you into the college football playoff with some reliability? Because I look up and down this conference, and again, with all due respect to, Oak State, TCU, Kansas, these are not teams that have been in the college football playoff with any type of regularity. Now, they're solid teams. They're good teams. They compete at a high level in the Big 12. But can the new teams come in and help you be competitive, be relevant? Because again, that I think is the most important word, no matter who you are in college athletics. Are you relevant to TV partners? If your commissioner goes to ESPN and says, hey, this team, we need to get them on TV more, what is ESPN going to say? And that is the luxury that the Big 10 and the SEC have. It's why they can try to negotiate into, these more conference games. It's why they've dominated the college football playoff in terms of their presence there every single year.
But let's be honest, the expansion of the SEC is gravitational. You add Oklahoma and Texas, and you are unquestionably the football league in this country. The issue for the Big 12 is the recent expansion, I don't believe, helps the Big 12 in football all that much. I truly do not. I think outside of Colorado and Utah, who clearly are on the plus side in football, I look at Cincinnati, Houston. I think UCF. UCF's a great story. That is a very good athletic program with big aspirations. Is the Big 12 the trampoline that bumps up UCF into some stratosphere. I don't believe that it is right now. And I think when I look at a university like Arizona, like an Arizona State, those are troubled athletic departments, which make them less enviable. Now, obviously, none of us had any idea that Arizona was in the financial constraints that they were, and now currently still find themselves in when this announcement was made. But it is what it is in current time. Arizona and Arizona State are damaged goods in just about every sport. I think Houston's a basketball powerhouse, but are they a football liability? I think there's a large part of that. Did the Big 12 miss out by not getting Gonzaga basketball yet? Now, that's been much bandied about as to whether or not Gonzaga is going to wind up joining the Big 12, and we'll find out. But I think we're looking at a situation where this round of realignment is not the explosive growth that the Big 12 thought they were getting. And I think a lot of that is around football, because as much as I love the NCAA tournament and as much college basketball as we have in this country, college basketball is a revenue stream. College football is a way of life. And I think when you look at this situation for the Big 12, I don't think the expansion that we saw gives them the leverage that is required to play amongst the Titans, the Big 10 and the SEC, that they hope that they were getting. And I think if you are the Big 12, you've got to find a way to earn, I think, increased revenue dollars to help your football programs expand. And I think that's why things like, the Big 12 Mexico is a huge deal.
Right.
It is really significant. I mean, not that it's on par with it, but you have a university like Utah that's playing softball games in Mexico today.
Right.
Like, you have Big 12 universities that are leading the way internationally. But what is it going to take to get that to football and move the Big 12 football product up the totem pole? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the only ways that I think you can really make strides if you're the Big 12 in football is by fully embracing as a conference NIL and the portal. As it evolves and as it comes into this new era, if you will, once this ruling comes down. And I think, the reason I say that is because talent wins on the football field, right? If you can be getting, the best talent in the country to come to, your programs in the Big 12 and you can develop that talent, that's how you're going to make progress. I mean, you don't have the luxury of being the nameplate that is or Michigan or Alabama or whatever.
You don't have the luxury of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have time to allow development. You don't have time to allow, universities to schedule up. You don't have time. Texas and Oklahoma don't need time, right? Like, you look at the statements by Chris Del Conte, the athletic director at Texas, and what you quickly realize is they're going and they're putting their foot on the gas right now.
Well, which makes sense. I mean,
now
you're moving. So, like, for Texas and Oklahoma, I look at those two programs and I say, hey, dude, like, you're going into the SEC. You have to have success. You have to come in here and establish yourself I think, in an expanded SEC, top 5 in the conference. If you're top 5 in the SEC, you're going to be in the college football playoff in its expanded format.
You're
in my
minted.
opinion. Yeah, you're minted. You're established. And so, more so for Texas than Oklahoma, in my opinion, I think that's the mission, because, Sark has shown the ability to get the best talent in the country and take them from the SEC into the Big 12. And now that he's in the SEC, he doesn't even have to fight that fight anymore. Right. So to me, I look at Sark in Texas and I say, hey, there's no reason why Sark in Texas can't be as good, if not better, than DeBoer in Alabama or Lane Train or any of these other dudes in the SEC.